Well, as you can see, we still have quite a bit of a wait here for the NASA's SpaceX Crew 6 launch, but the countdown is progressing. Until it wasn't.
The 3 astronauts and 1 cosmonaut strapped in and ready to fly Monday morning.
Hold, hold, hold.
This is not the reaction that you were hoping to get. Apparently it is scrubbed. As you can see, we are paused. After a couple hiccups, the Crew 6 launch was successful.
3, 2, 1. Engines full power and liftoff of Crew 6. Go Dragon, go Falcon.
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to stay for the actual launch, but I was very excited to finally get a NASA press credential, take you guys behind the scenes, and at least attempt to see the Crew 6 mission before it was scrubbed and delayed for a few days due to a T-tab igniter issue. Overall, the experience was so gratifying, and I really cannot wait to go back and cover another launch, not from the bridge and from the press site. I felt really honored to be there, and it was just a great time. And hopefully you guys enjoyed seeing a different side of the launch from behind the scenes with the rest of the media there to cover it. So this is the Launch Complex 39 NASA News Center. Of course, as you guys know, this is my first time here. I'm pretty sure most of you have not been here either, so I wanted to kind of show you as I am seeing this for the first time. We have a lovely shot of our Crew 6, which will be heading to the ISS in a few short hours here. And as you can see, the Office of Communication banner here. This is a nice place for you to go to power up your devices and maybe take a break from the humidity outside. I was fortunate to have some guides during this trip. My 2 veteran photographer friends, Mark and Carlton, who not only helped me get some shots and footage while I was there, but they've been doing this for many decades. So here's some of their perspective.
I can remember my first steps, the first steps that you're taking now on the same ground that we're in. Back in 1972, as a young lad of 14 years old. Oops. And just being in awe of everything that I saw and looking over my shoulder and seeing a 360-foot tall moon rocket. It was just a very memorable time, and you're going to have a very memorable time here seeing your first rocket launch, and this is the closest anybody can be for a launch. And you will definitely be able to tell the difference between here and Max Brewer or anywhere else. And I look forward to it. I know you'll enjoy it.
This is my 600 and some time. If you count just the launches, counting the scrubs, well over 1,500 probably. Back in the day, I would come 2 or 3 times a week because there would be news conferences and satellites to view and just nothing else to do. So I had a badge, you come over here and you hang out and figure out what's going on, yeah. Honestly, the thing I'm most excited for is to be a part of your first experience here. It's gonna be unbelievable, and when I started out here, I was all alone. I'm sure when Mark started out here, they didn't have groupies, they didn't have people. You know, this is where you go, this is who you meet, this is the door you open. And I'm proud to be part of this little circle of friends that's integrating you into what could be the best part of your life, or it could be your downfall, depending on where you look at it.
Well, back in the day, as we say more than often, they would put up to 4,000 people in this area. Tonight there may be 500, 400. I'm not sure what the count is, but it's nowhere near what it was back in the Apollo days and Skylab. Obviously the interest has come back because we're going back to the moon, and it's people like you that are out there spreading the word that needs to be spread, and your enthusiasm and your followers and subscribers generate the interest that was there 50 years ago that I can remember. So kudos to you.
Why are you still doing this?
I'm not well. No. Well, it's an interest that I had since I was a little kid. The same as my brother, same as Carlton, same as a lot of the friends that I've made over the last 50 years. Some of them are still around, and some of them have passed. But it was it was a life-changing experience for me because I grew up with this stuff, and now your generation is growing up with it. I think there's an excitement because of people being on, and there always was. I mean, there was always a difference between, I mean, some uncrewed launches are more exciting than others. If it's like, you know, a space telescope or a probe to Mars or something like that, generates a lot more interest than most launches. But there's still that human effort, that human factor that always, you can put a face to the mission that you're watching, and it makes a big difference. I can't wait to come back. It's one of those things I've got the bug. I mean, I look forward to doing every launch I can. I definitely want to retire here, whenever that is. But, and I want my ashes spread here. Carlton, this is going on the record. When I die, it's up to you or my brother or sister or something to sprinkle me here. I think I'd like that, because this is my #1 happy place.
And it's really cool that I get to see it for the first time.
You will enjoy it immensely, I know, and you'll be back. It's like looking at an eclipse. If you've ever seen a total solar eclipse, you're hooked. And I'm already counting down the days till next year for the next total one. I saw the first one back in 2017.
Come to Texas.
And I will. I think that's one of my possible destination spots. So
I have said and Mark will back it up, I've said for the last few years, I'm just getting too old for this. And here I am, once again, I'm out here, and I'm still going, I'm too old for this. But I tell you what, when that countdown clock comes down and hits 0, and that rocket takes off, and I stop breathing, and the adrenaline is flowing, and I start breathing again, and I look at, maybe I got something really good, and maybe I didn't, but I got to experience it. And I'm just going like, you know, maybe I'm not too old, so I'm gonna keep doing it. As long as I can have house guests to entertain and people to help, we'll be here.
While I didn't get to actually see the liftoff of Crew 6, I also didn't get to see the liftoff of a Falcon 9 Starlink V2 mini launch. Well, I could have seen it if I had remembered to turn around in time. I would like to, because that'd be cool, but, you know, and this will be cool. It's a film set in the 1960s, space race era. And it will be released on Apple TV, which some of you seem to indicate you were not a fan of. Oh, wow. Oh my gosh. I'm blind. This was actually a tremendously funny blooper to me, and if I could redo it, I wouldn't, because, you know, this made a lot of people smile, and I'm still laughing about it. So hopefully you enjoyed it. You know, at least you guys were able to see the launch. I've had people complain, oh, you're only showing your face. Okay, well, I set up a tripod and unfortunately didn't have a countdown clock or a watch on.
This is yeah, I get paid the big bucks to do this, to stack them up.
What degree did you get to do this?
Thank you.
Has a master's in aeronautical engineering.
Majored in martinis, right?
We meet again here.
We meet again, Ellie.
Were
in
you
space.
surprised to see me here?
I was surprised to see you, but you know, I also figured too that if there's rocket launches and space stuff, then you're not too far behind. So.
Yeah.
Are you just like gonna like follow me like this?
Yeah.
Wow.
Gotta get some B-roll. Don't make fun of me. See, the problem is I've met you too many times, so we're homies now.
We're cool like that.
Yeah, we're cool.
It's okay. All right.
Because I met you in Vegas.
We met at Ascend. That's
Yeah.
right. AIAA, bringing the heat.
Yep.
He was fantastic.
And now we're
here we
here.
are at Kennedy Space Center, at the press site.
This is
All
not
the
your
histor-
first time
this
here,
is
though.
not my first
No.
time. This is actually my first time of being walked down the catwalk like this though. So, wow. Okay.
All right.
All right. Dang. Is that like my 60 Minutes moment right there? We're both kind of walking and
Yeah.
we're like doing hand gestures and making it seem as though this is an action shot.
Any comments, Patrick?
I have plenty of comments. What would you like for me to comment about?
Well, you are with the ISS, and that's where our 4
That is
crew
where
members are going for the
that
next.
is. They are prepping as we speak right now to hop on the SpaceX Dragon, and we'll hopefully be launching later on this evening and then heading up to the space station where they will be part of a 6-month science mission. So we're excited about it because obviously, whenever you have astronauts that are going to the space station, you want them to get there safely, but then secondary to that too is you want them to be very occupied with the types of things that are going to bring value to us and legitimize why it is we have a space station in low Earth orbit. So once this launch hopefully is successfully completed, about 2 weeks afterwards we're going to have a resupply mission that is full of research goodies. That's going to be taking place here at Kennedy as well from SpaceX. And then not too long after that, we're also going to be having another resupply mission from Northrop Grumman. So these astronauts, again, once they get up there, they're going to have a variety of commercial resupply services missions that will be, again, stock full of science from a myriad of scientific disciplines, from life sciences, physical sciences, material sciences, technology development, academia.
Yeah, can you give us some specific examples? I know there's a lot of research, but maybe just a couple in specific.
Sure. So there's one of the collaborations that the ISS National Lab has had over the last few years is with one of the centers within the National Institutes of Health called the National Center for Advancing Translational Sciences. They have had a multi-year partnership with us focused on validating tissue chip technology on the space station. And so on the next resupply mission from SpaceX, we will have the final 2 payloads from that initial kind of subset, if you will. And so they will be flying both looking at cardiac research. But what's kind of cool about tissue chips is that they're basically like a little thumb drive, but they mimic the human physiology. So you're able to put human cells, human tissues in these little tissue chips, and they feel as though they're just in a normal human body. But now you're able to send them to this novel or extreme environment and see how they react. So when we have astronauts on the space station, obviously NASA is doing a lot of testing with them to kind of make sure that their bodies are able to be safe and strong so that they can withstand their missions, but also come back and live normal lives. However, most researchers don't have access to those astronauts as well. So that's why these tissue chips are going to be really exciting for us moving forward, because we will have the ability to test human cells and human tissues in low Earth orbit, and also use those tissue models to test out various drugs and therapeutics so that they might be accelerated and be something that could be readily available for patients here on Earth or for those that are living and working in space down the road. So that's one exciting project or projects that are going up. We also have investigations from the National Science Foundation that are flying. We have third-party research from companies like Boeing, where they are funding innovative startups to be looking at therapeutic design. Speaking of third-party research, Genes in Space is an education program. Every year they have thousands of students that get involved in proposing genetic experiments on the space station. That is also in partnership with the ISS National Lab and Boeing. They will be launching, I believe, their 11th investigation that is associated with that program. So lots of exciting stuff going up. We'll be having a lot of Fortune 500 companies, some of whom will be leveraging the outside of the space station so that they can test materials and products in the extreme environment of space, where you have massive spikes in differentiation in temperature. You have radiation spikes, you have atomic oxygen exposure. So a lot of things going on the outside of station. So if your product can withstand those rigors, it can pretty much withstand anything. But yeah, that's kind of a quick little synopsis, if you will, of some of the things that are flying.
So they're going to be there for 6 months. Tell us what kind of impacts that has on the body and how they can expect to, you know, feel when they return home here to Earth? Like,
So, I mean, the easiest way to characterize it is that oftentimes when you are in this stressful or unique environment, it kind of onsets the acceleration of aging. And so what NASA is focused on is making sure that these astronauts are continuously keeping their bodies active. One of the things that the astronauts do is they'll work out 2 to 3 hours every single day to ensure that they're able to kind of keep their strength, because if you're going to be in this constant state of free fall, that means you're not going to be having gravity pushing and pulling against you. So you need to be able to create some sort of a strain so that way you're able to keep your muscle strength, your bone density intact, so that when you do come back, while there is a readaptation process, hopefully it's not something that's going to be prolonged and you're able to live a very normal life. So that's one of the biggest things that they're focused on. Obviously, too, when we're thinking about being able to send astronauts beyond low Earth orbit, it is understanding what types of radiation or other impacts might be confronted to these astronauts, and developing technologies so that way when we are living on the moon or eventually going beyond that and going to Mars, that we're able to live as healthy as possible and again come back healthy. So those are some of the big areas where NASA is really focused on. Also on top of that too is the types of things that you want to eat, the types of nutrients that you need. One of the premiums we're going to be at eventually when we do go to Moon and Mars is you can only bring so much food, you can only bring so much water. So are there things that we can be doing on station now to help ease that burden? Can we make things in space, whether that be food or can we find avenues of being able to leverage the critical resources that we do have on station, so that again our astronauts are able to eat things properly and then again work out, get the right nutrients in their body, and then ultimately come back and live a normal life here on Earth.
this is the first crewed SpaceX launch for 2023.
Yep.
And you
It
know,
is exciting. Woody
one
Hoberg.
one of the folks going up to the ISS for the next 6 months. So tell
Yeah.
us about your relationship with Woody. And
Sure. Well, I got to know him when he was at MIT as a professor, and he joined the faculty there just after graduating from Berkeley. He got a PhD in computer science, and his research was on how you apply modeling of and optimization systems. He created something called GPKit, which is a pretty powerful programming language. It's programmed in Python. It's open sourceware, and it's used to optimize the design of aerospace vehicles and aerospace systems. So he brought that capability to MIT, started teaching classes in the department as a junior faculty member, as an assistant professor, and he started working with my company, Aurora Flight Sciences, where we used him on a lot of projects to bring this new technology for design optimization to use on things like solar airplanes and electric-powered aircraft for NASA. We did a study along with another colleague, Dave Hall, who's now a professor at Penn State, on the application of the GPKit, or using GPKit as a tool to assess the right on-ramps for technology associated with electrification of airplanes.
And now he's going to
now
the
he's
ISS,
going into space,
which is
it's
exciting, but not a surprise because he was selected in 2017.
2017. There were 18,000 applicants in that class.
Wow.
And he was one of 12 selected. 3 of them were from MIT, and now we have 44 MIT alums that have been selected as astronauts. In the whole course of the space program, NASA has selected about 360 astronauts. So
Wow.
something on the order of, like, whatever that math is, maybe 13–14% are MIT grads. But only twice in the whole history of the program have they picked a sitting MIT faculty member.
Really?
So Woody Hoberg and Bill Lenore, who was a scientist astronaut picked during the Apollo era in I think 1967 in the second group of science astronauts. And he ended up not flying until the shuttle era. In the early 80s, he made a couple of space shuttle flights. But yeah, it's pretty rare that somebody steps down from a tenured faculty position, particularly at a place like MIT. And I think it was a real loss to MIT that they lost his talents, but now
But the
we're really
opportunity of
excited
a lifetime,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, so we're now really excited to see him fly, and I had a chance to speak to him just a few minutes ago at the walkout, which was pretty exciting.
Yeah.
I shouted out, and he he was. I think he was surprised. I think he knew I was going to be there, but he was still surprised. His family was there, his mom and his brother, and yeah, it's this is a lot of hard work that's coming to fruition.
Right.
I saw him in training in Houston. In the neutral buoyancy lab, I spent pretty much a whole day watching his training for EVAs, and he's hoping to be able to do an EVA on this flight. It's not guaranteed, but it's something that could happen toward the end of the mission, and possibly deploying solar arrays on the ISS. New solar arrays that are actually here. He got to see them a few days ago in the ISS processing facility.
Well, you know what? That is a perfect time to take a break and do a quick ad. Yes, I'm wearing my Alien Space Rapid Iteration hoodie. You can find this on my store, which I should have in the link to this video, I think, or it's in my bio somewhere. If you're interested in this hoodie, let me know in the comments.
Yeah.
We went on a tour earlier today at Blue Origin.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Super secret.
Pretty amazing facility.
Yeah, we can't really show you much. I mean, we were able to capture a little bit of it. But what would you want to go on one of those sort of joy rides? If you could?
Personally, I would not be interested in a suborbital flight. And I think the reason is it's just a very short flight with a lot of the same risks that you would actually have in a flight to orbit.
Right.
So I think the sort of 5 minutes of weightlessness, although people that have been on those flights have had an incredible experience, to me that's nothing compared to the idea of actually being in orbit for an extended period of time. And so I think we're going to quickly move from suborbital flight to orbital.
Mm-hmm.
That will effectively give the participants a much better experience. That's much more engaging, seeing the Earth from space over many orbits, all of the continents, different weather patterns, all of the beautiful sights that you can just see from Earth orbit that Woody will be experiencing for the first time in an hour or so.
Wow.
Yeah, it'll be much different, and the way to think about it, I've told people, is the American program outgrew suborbital flights after the first two missions. So the first two American astronauts, Alan Shepard and Gus Grissom, flew these short 15-minute suborbital flights. They're very much like the, let's say, the Blue Origin suborbital flight today. And that was it. Originally, all 7 Mercury astronauts were going to fly suborbital flights. They decided to truncate that to 2 and then to move on to orbital flights. And I think that is likely to happen just based on the market economics and also this risk-reward ratio.
Yeah. I cover a lot about SpaceX's Starship, so I'm sure you're familiar with and following to some degree. What are your thoughts on the Starship program?
It's an incredible program, highly innovative. If you believe Elon Musk's projections, I was kind of shocked at the Boca Chica press conference he did. I think it was about a year or two now, where he basically estimated the cost per launch at $10 million and the payload to low Earth orbit of 200,000 pounds. So that works out to $50 per pound. That's an incredible number if it can be realized. And even if he's off by a factor of 10, that would still be a massive breakthrough in the cost of orbital spaceflight. Right. It'll bring it down by such an amount that a lot of things are possible. And think of the kind of crew that you could send into orbit with a 200,000 pound vehicle at $50 a pound. So a human with consumables for, multiple weeks on orbit is on the order of maybe 1,000 pounds. $50 a pound, $50,000, that could be, you know, very, very affordable for a lot of people.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed this tour. The Tesla Investor Day was also an event that I had committed to. I actually was able to moderate some panels. And this is why I moved to Austin, Texas. I wanted to be a part of these community events. So I will definitely be back to cover another launch in Florida. I'm sure sooner than I even anticipate. However, I really hope that you enjoyed what I was able to provide. And yeah, you know, the rocket launch business is hard and things get scrubbed and delayed. And if any of you guys have tried to plan a trip around a rocket launch, you know the struggle. But I, again, so humbled and honored to be badged and can't wait to do it again. So thanks for watching this video. Please make sure to like it and subscribe to Ellie in Space if you haven't already. You guys are what keeps the channel going, seriously. So let's make 2023 a big year for Ellie in Space. And I can only do it with your help.